my story, which you'll hear more about in the keynote before the competition starts, we didn't ever. People like to say that there's these steps entrepreneurs go through, and they're entering the pre-market validation step, and now they're entering. Okay, they're validated. Now they're entering the hire people step, and frank, there are no steps. I mean, this is like a master cluster of stuff happening. And entrepreneur, when I first started the business, what I did is when I was at events like this, I'd go up to smart people I met and I'd say, hey, can I add you to a list, a mentor list? I'll give you one update every month. It'll be less than 5 minutes for you to read it. Can I add you? And of course, most would say yes if they were, somewhat interested in me. And long story short, as we started in those monthly updates articulating the revenue growth, we started getting reply emails from those mentors, and they would ask, well, can we invest? And my simple reply was, what does that mean? Because I had no idea what it meant to get money or have an investment. And so I was being a little bit facetious. I mean, I knew what it was, but I knew that if I made them explain it to me over a coffee, that they would be more invested in me because I'd feel like a student to them. And so being a little bit ignorant that way can be really, really powerful, especially people with money to invest typically are also extremely confident individuals, and they like taking somebody under their wing. So, submit to that and let them go under their wing and make sure you do that. Long story short is we ended up raising $550,000 from folks like David Cohen, who's the founder of Techstars. So he's in Boulder. The reason I love that is because that's not money that we necessarily raised in Blacksburg from local folks. That's now, you're looking at money, smart money a lot of the world would want coming into Blacksburg. So it's a magnet versus just pulling local resources. So David Cohen invested. We have Dave McClure with 500 Startups, who some of you guys might know of, along with people like Pat Condon, who actually founded Rackspace, personally invested. And then there's a bunch of other local folks who are really my close mentors that I'll explain more about in the keynote. So we continued growing. We continued these monthly updates. They were easy to do. And long story short is it was, it was last October. Okay, now in Blacksburg, how many of you guys have been to Blacksburg before? Okay, it's beautiful. Going up 81, the leaves are changing colors, it's the fall. Well, we had this idea because we were getting really frustrated with how Amazon was crushing authors, ebook authors. They'd publish their book on Amazon. Amazon would take 30% of all the sales, and then they'd also take them weeks, if not months, to actually pay them. And this just drove me crazy because I love small businesses. So I invited a mentor of mine to my office on last October, it was a Thursday. And I had them in the office. We have a thing called the Boom Boom Room in the middle of our office. It's all glass walls, and we call it the Boom Boom Room because it's where all the deals happen, right? So he came down, he sat across from me. His name was Rob Patzig. And I said, Rob, and he was in biotech with a firm called Third Security. So my thinking was, if I present this idea, and I'm in the software space, right? Well, at least if he thinks it's total crap, he's in the biotech space, so he wasn't going to be interested anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I fail miserably in this pitch, right? So he sat down across from me, and I said, Rob, I looked him in the face, he had his glasses on, I said, Rob, the idea I'm about to show you, and I had an 8.5, 11 piece of paper just like this, I said, the idea I'm about to show you will take down Amazon. It's a multi-billion-dollar idea. And I just paused. And he's like, okay, can I see it? I said, okay, fine. So I flip it over, right? He picks it up, he studies it, he puts it down and says, this looks extremely interesting. We talk for about 5 more minutes. Long story short is that Monday, so 5 days later, there's an email in my inbox saying, we'd love to put $5 to $9 million into your company, right? There was no due diligence. There was no plan. Okay, there was no nothing, but what he had seen is that we had sold over $3 million worth of our first product. We also had raised $550,000 on that first product. So there was some execution risk that we had eliminated because we had proved that we could do it in the software space. So long story short is we didn't need that much capital. We then, these moments when you're building your business, when you have capital and term sheets, most entrepreneurs forget that that is a maximum leverage point for you. When you've got a term sheet on the table from an investor, you should immediately email your top 5 partners that you've partnered with and say, we're about to raise this much capital. It might affect our relationship. What do you think? Now, when you do that, you're going to get replies from these competitors who are potential acquirers of your company, that are thinking, crap, if they raise capital, they become more expensive to buy, right? So you're then potentially going to get LOIs from your partners wanting to acquire your company, and you can use those LOIs to leverage up the deal terms, right, on the seed round. And so then you just pit those two parties against each other until you get the right strategic partners on the right side, and you close the round. So we did that. We raised $2 million instead of the $5 to $9 million, and we're continuing to grow today, and it's a lot of fun.
Idea Fest is April 1st, 2016 at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research in Danville, Virginia. Apply to pitch or reserve your seat in the audience at ideafestdanville.com.